Friends, hello everyone. The Ukrainian government continues its large-scale reset during the war. We've seen the presidential office being headed by, I'm not afraid to use this word, the legendary Kirilo Budanov. We knew, and I talked about this in a separate blog, about the resignation of the head of the security service of Ukraine, Vasyl Maliuk, who, however, remained within the system. And now, possible major changes are on the way in yet another law enforcement agency. The main question is, who could head the Foreign Intelligence Service? Will he return to big politics? Dmytro Kuleba? What's even more interesting is whether Combat General Andriy Biletskyi will agree to an office job, and what, in principle, could be the reaction here. And most importantly, friends, and by the way, we forgot about the baby, he is also mentioned here. I said that he stayed in the system, but perhaps he is also a candidate for the position of head of the Foreign Intelligence Service. And of course, friends. We'll also discuss whether the changes will reach the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Oleksandr Syrsky. We will look into this matter calmly, without panic, step by step, and based on information from authorized sources. But first, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and don't forget to like and leave your comments. And so as not to waste your time, I'll get started right away. And it's actually worth starting here with the main point. Why are we even talking about changes in the Foreign Intelligence Service? The Security and Defense Council of Ukraine, and here it is. Citing its sources, it reports that President Volodymyr Zelensky is currently looking for a new working format for the service. He has been tasked with compiling a list of candidates, so who will head the Foreign Intelligence Service? And the main question is, what will be the profile of the new leader? And here, there are three main, so to speak, paths: either a diplomat, a military officer, or a professional intelligence officer. This choice will determine the direction in which the Foreign Intelligence Service's work will go next. And here are the three names that are being mentioned the loudest. Friends. The first and probably the most unexpected candidate for the public is the former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Dmytro Kuleba. After his resignation, he didn't fade into the background. Moreover, as you know, he started a TikTok account, and by the way, he actively comments on events there. And his recent meeting with the president sparked off numerous rumors. Sources report that Zelensky has long been looking for a new systemic position for Kuleba, and one of the options is precisely to head the Foreign Intelligence Service. I'll be honest, when I found out that Kuleba could potentially head the Foreign Intelligence Service, I just couldn't believe it. Kuleba, a diplomat, and the Foreign Intelligence Service. It seems almost unbelievable. But friends, shall we? Let's ask ourselves, why would a diplomat be needed in intelligence? Here's the logic. Kuleba has, and this is true by the way, invaluable experience working on the international stage. He knows how the capitals of our partners operate, and his task could be to transform the Foreign Intelligence Service into a powerful analytical center that provides the president with alternative information about moods and decisions around the world. As sources have reported, this is yet another channel of information to provide the president with more alternatives for decision-making. As I understand it, Kuleba could potentially, I emphasize, be engaged in a separate role within the Foreign Intelligence Service, rather than heading its development. After all, let's be honest, it's a military body, right? But the first question is whether Kuleba himself wants it. Well, and the president himself. When asked about the new role, the former minister answered very briefly, "I won't tell you. Everything remains within the realm of possibility." But even such an answer from Zelensky already clarifies certain positions. So in the end, Kuleba is being considered. The second option, friends, is radically different, and this is the most interesting one for me personally. It's the appointment of a military man, namely Brigadier General, Commander of the 3rd Army Corps, Andriy Biletskyi. What are they counting on here? Sources say that Biletskyi is a good organizer. He knows how to manage complex directions, and that's true. And the goal of such an appointment is to turn the Foreign Intelligence Service into something like the Ukrainian Mossad, that is, a combat tool, capable of acting asymmetrically and finding the enemy wherever they are. Well, let's be honest, up until now, both the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense under Budanov and the Security Service of Ukraine under Maliuk have been handling such tasks quite well. Why separate all this and create a Ukrainian Mossad, considering that both the main intelligence directorate and the security service have already been called the Ukrainian Mossad? I don't quite understand it. But there is a big but. Will Biletskyi himself agree? Yes, a combat general who commands an entire corps at the front to take a desk job. Well, personally, I think that's unlikely and not right, to be honest with you. He would have been much more likely to agree, of course, to the position of commander-in-chief if such an offer had been made to him. By the way, And it's still unclear in principle what the reaction might be to the idea of pushing Biletskyi into such a position, so to speak. I think, of course, it will do just fine without that. But in the end, he's doing a great job at the front. We all know who Biletskyi is. We all know what he has done for the military. We all know how he leads the troops. And he's an innovator. He's someone who absolutely cannot be lost from the front under any circumstances. So, friends, I have to say that overall, Biletskyi in general, well, he viewed the recent appointments positively, in particular Budanov's appointment as head of the president's office. But he became very seriously concerned by the rumors, at that time still just rumors, about a change in the head of the security service of Ukraine. Yes, about replacing Maliuk, emphasizing his key role in the war, and this shows how carefully he weighs things. So, personnel decisions in wartime conditions. And the third option is the legendary Vasil Maliuk. Friends, a return to the leadership of the security forces, but this time in a different service. Specifically, Vasil Maliuk. Let me remind you that he resigned from the position of head of the SBU, but did not leave the service. Because according to previous information, as you know, he is supposed to focus on special operations. Now, sources do not rule out that Maliuk, as an experienced leader of special operations, could head the Foreign Intelligence Service. Here, it seems to me, Mossad, the Ukrainian Mossad, and Maliuk, this is where the connection lies. His profile fits perfectly with the idea of strengthening precisely the asymmetric and operational component of foreign intelligence. However, earlier, according to media reports, he had already rejected such an offer when they met, I think, on Saturday with the president, and the president suggested that he resign. In the meantime, he proposed two options: Secretary of the National Security and Defense Council and head of the Foreign Intelligence Service. So, at that time, Maliuk supposedly refused this position, but time and circumstances change, time passes, and his opinion, Maliuk's opinion, may also change. So, friends, what do we have? We have three different models for the future of the Foreign Intelligence Service. Diplomatic, analytical, yes, Kuleba; combat, forceful, Biletskyi; and special operations, so to speak, from Maliuk. According to sources, the president is expecting a list of candidates and will make a decision after personal conversations. And here is the key phrase, because we understand what the main intelligence directorate can do, and the president wants to see what potential the Foreign Intelligence Service has. In other words, this is about rethinking the role of this service within the overall security architecture. That's what this is about. It's not just for nothing. A separate question, actually, is whether, well, let's say, is there any concern or expectation about the replacement of the commander-in-chief of the joint forces, Alexander Syrsky? Because the press is writing one thing, saying that such rumors exist. Yes, this information has surfaced, and some members of parliament are demanding his dismissal, replacement, and so on. And the rumors are constantly circulating, especially against the backdrop of this overall reset. But today we have a direct response from President Zelensky. And while speaking with journalists, he made it clear that no radical steps regarding the army's leadership are currently planned. He said that we are not saying that today we are ready to replace the commander-in-chief. Today, replacing the commander-in-chief is not being considered. What does this mean? It means that personnel changes are being considered as part of a general system update, but right now Syrsky remains in his position. The president hasn't closed the topic forever, but he has put it aside for now. This is the current tension. In wartime conditions, stability at the top of the military command is also critically important, as you understand. To fully understand the situation, let's recall the context, because all these discussions are taking place against the backdrop of major changes. Changes that have already taken place. Budanov headed the office, Maliuk resigned from the position of head of the SBU, Kamara is now appointed as the acting head of the service, and the Verkhovna Rada ultimately will have to make a decision on this in the near future. To vote. And in addition, the president himself hinted at other personnel moves. This is part of those personnel moves. So what can we say here, friends? First, the process of renewal continues. The personnel reboot of the government, as you understand, is not a one-time event. It is a lengthy process. It will affect all key institutions, and the Foreign Intelligence Service is next in line. Next, the choice of candidate is equivalent to the choice of strategy. Because whoever is appointed as the head of the Foreign Intelligence Service will depend on what specific role the president envisions for this service: an analytical center, a combat tool, or a platform for special operations. Third, the issue regarding Syrsky remains for the commander-in-chief. For now, at least, it has been removed from the agenda. The stability of the command at this stage has been recognized as a priority. Fourth, all decisions are made under the sign of war. Every replacement, every appointment, or every resignation is considered through the prism of a single question: how will this strengthen defense capability? of Ukraine, both at the front and in the rear. This is exactly what Andriy Biletskyi emphasized, saying that such decisions have a direct impact on the front. So we remain attentive. The personnel puzzle continues to come together. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel so you don't miss the main developments. Friends, please like this video if you enjoyed the material. Share it with your friends. Thank you for watching this episode until the end. Take care of yourselves. See you next time.